Today, those of you that are able and can, if you have your Bibles with you, please turn to Matthew, the 26th chapter. We're going to start at verse 6. And I'm going to speak on the woman with the alabaster box. Verse 6 starts saying, "And when Jesus was in Bethany at the house of Simon the leper, a woman came to him having an alabaster flask of very costly fragrant oil. And she poured it on his head as he sat at the table. But when his disciples saw it, they were indignant, saying, 'Why this waste? For this fragrant oil might have been sold for much and given to the poor.' But when Jesus was aware of it, he said to them, 'Why do you trouble the woman? For she has done a good work for me. For you have the poor with you always, but me you do not have always. For in pouring this fragrant of oil on my body, she did it for my burial. Assuredly I say to you, wherever the gospel is preached in the whole world, what this woman has done will always be told as a memorial to her.'" Glory be to God. In this particular passage, it does not mention her name. But according to Luke 7 verse 37, it states, "Behold a woman in the city who was a sinner." In the religious world, we would say that she is a sinner because she's not like us. She wasn't a church goer. She wasn't on the praise and worship team. And we never see her in church. But she has the nerve to show up at Simon's house. Because that's where Jesus was.
Thank you, Lord God.
If you can nudge your neighbor quickly and say, don't let anything, people, circumstance distract you from getting to Jesus. Not only did this woman show up at Simon's house, but she had the nerve to bring an alabaster flask of very expensive fragrant oil. And then she turned around and broke the flask and poured it on Jesus. Woo, Jesus. Tell your neighbor, having a name is not important. I just want to see Jesus. See, the alabaster box that she brought to Simon's house was the best thing she had to give to Jesus. And that was her act of worship. You see, when she poured the fragrant oil on Jesus' head, as I mentioned earlier, this woman wasn't in church. So for her to truly be able to worship him and truly be able to pour the oil on him, because that's just a sign of worship, for her to truly have been able to worship Jesus, for you to truly be able to worship him, like the sister said, you got to worship him in spirit and truth, but you also have to be and had an encounter with him. See, this woman who wasn't a churchgoer, wasn't on the praise and worship team, probably was out at the club last night, probably had about 6 or 7 children, and here she comes to Simon's house. Who is she? Well, the only way this woman could truly worship Jesus the way she had is because somewhere in her pain, in some situations that she had faced, in some walkouts, in some disappointments, she had an encounter with Jesus. And once you have an encounter with Jesus, you will never be the same. Once Jesus had to touch her life in such a way that it didn't matter how the people looked at her when she got to Simon's house. It didn't matter what they thought of me. It didn't matter if they was going to laugh at me when I got there. I'm making my way to Jesus. And I'm going to give him my best worship. See, religious folks, we're so connected about how expensive the oil was, and murmured amongst themselves that breaking the flesh was a waste. Oh. But this woman knew the true value of the oil. For the worth was nothing compared to what Jesus was going to do throughout all eternity. Oh, glory. I'm here to announce nobody knows what it took for her to get to Jesus. Nobody knows what it's going to take for you to get to Jesus. No one truly knew the embarrassment she had to face. The pain of knowing people were going to stare at her. Who she didn't fit in. She wasn't even invited to his house. Tell your neighbor, you don't know what I endured before I came here today. You don't know the sleepless nights. You don't know the hurt it caused when he walked out on me. You don't know the times I contemplated suicide. You don't know how many times I was close to having a nervous breakdown. See, I'm talking from my own experience. There was times in my personal life when I not only felt like I was having a nervous breakdown,